Yo, yo, what's up? We're live here on the tube. It's your tube, it's my tube, it's everybody's tube, and we're live. How you guys feeling tonight? You guys ready to do this? You ready to go old school? Deconstruct the globe like we used to do? How you guys feeling tonight? I'm feeling good. Do this? Go old school? Yep. All right. So my watch page is on and popping. Errol's here with his popcorn, and it is on and popping. They Live Sunglasses is here with a puff pass, and it is on and popping. PJ CNET, doing it up old school, says, hey, glad to be back and getting you started. Glad to see you. You're just in time, buddy. All right. That's weird. On my end, it says that there's zero watching. But then over on the watching page, it says that there's 60. Strange. All right. So, haven't streamed in a couple weeks, maybe almost 2 weeks or so. So I figured it was about time. And I thought we would do a classic globe deconstruction tonight. Go old school. All right. So we got Mark Shire up in the house. Calypso's here, taking a virtual hit. He says, what's up? Rose Billman here. Italian water ice says, I want a half Chinese baby. That's good to know, buddy. Good to know. Somebody help that guy out. Yeah, something's up because on my end, it says 0 watching. So that's a screw up on my end. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I just checked the watch page and not that many people have flooded in yet. So perhaps they aren't sending out notifications for this stream as usual. I don't know what the deal is. But we will move along like usual, regardless. Yeah, that's not very good. See, we were rolling like 500 last week, over 500 people watching for most of the entire stream. Not last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. I guess tonight a lot of people are busy or they're just not getting notified. Maybe a little of both. But whatever, they can catch the replay. Whatever. We're going to roll along no matter what. But something's up. Okay. So tonight, I thought we would, hey, what's happening, Quinn Zone? Quinn Zone's here too. All right. Okay, so I thought we would start with I guess it's a meme. I found this meme, and it was like one of the first memes I remember seeing that really got me to think about whether or not I live on a globe. And so just as I heard people on the internet talking about the Earth not being a globe and being flat, and I heard that in 2015. That was when I first heard about this notion. One of the first memes that I came across was this one, and it really got me thinking, because right away when I see a few of these globes, it's jarring just how cartoony they looked and how I never noticed before. So I had never noticed how cartoony, CGI-y, the globe was until it was pointed out to me. And then when you stick them all side by side like this for a comparison, you can clearly see like down in the bottom corner, you got blue marble 2.0. Right next to it, you have an image of Earth with the United States taking up the entire top of the globe. So in one image, the United States is taking up a gigantic portion. And then in the next image, it's a lot smaller. Yet both globes seem to be the same size. So all these globes all appear to be the same size, all appear to be perfect circles. And then to add more confusion to the mix, you got guys who are supposed to be experts like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who will say that the Earth isn't a perfect sphere, it's an oblate spheroid, pear-shaped. So when you go looking for these oblate spheroid Earths, the pear-shaped ones, you find that they're all perfect circles. And so their excuse for that, of course, is, well, you just can't tell that they're oblate spheroids because it's just slightly oblate. So Earth is a slightly pear-shaped oblate spheroid, but all of the images are perfect circles. Okay, how about that? So apparently it's pear-shaped, but you can't tell, but it is. Oh, okay. So my thing is if you can't tell, why call it pear-shaped if none of these look like a pear? Just go with it, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson says it's pear-shaped, it's got to be. So when I look at the difference in the contrast of colors, ask simple questions like, how come the oceans seem to change colors? How come the continents also seem to change colors? Not only that, they seem to change in size, location even. Well, Jake, this is what what a globe defender would say. These were taken at different times with different cameras. So that's why they look different like that. So the reason why these look different is because they were taken different years with different cameras. So apparently the type of camera you use will make the United States grow or shrink depending what time of the year you take it and what camera you use. You can actually make the entire North American continent double in size or shrink. Just all depends on the camera, man. So this was one of the first memes I remember that got my mind really going. This one's really old. And so I wanted to take it back to my starting point right here. So then you think, okay, well, there's got to be better pictures than this. Let me look up the pictures of the Earth from space. So when you go to search Earth from space, here's what you end up with. You type in Earth from space, and you get more cartoons. See, so you got the blue marble 2.0, which is Photoshop because it has to be. We'll get more to that. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, that's a cartoon. That's a cartoon. That's a terrible cartoon. Doesn't look real at all. Same with this one. Just the way the clouds look is stupid. It doesn't look right at all. So that's the Earth from the moon, right? But we can get into the moon landing being fake here in a little bit, which will dismiss that picture. And you like this? Oh, apparently when you're up this high, you can see all the lights on down there. You know, there's like cities. You can see all the lights on down there, but only when you're that close. Once you get this far away, then the lights go away, of course. Then you can't see the lights no more. You have to be about just here, right? And you can't see the lights on this one, but you can see the lights on this, right? Where's the lights on this one? No. There's no one left the lights on down there in that photo, but everybody left the lights on right here. See what I'm saying? So just discrepancies in the simple photos. Which one's the real one? Which ones are the actual Earth from space? Waiting to Die says they say it's smoother than a bowling ball. Yeah, the ones who got to see it from space are the ones who get to say that, right? And we have to go along with it. All right, so this is what you run into when you just Google Earth from space. You want to find out like which ones are the real ones. So you got blue marble, the original. Then you got blue marble 2.0. Those definitely look different. The thing about blue marble 2.0, when you look up whether it's an authentic photo or whether it's photoshopped, you actually find out NASA admits blue marble 2.0 here is in fact Photoshop, because in their words it has to be. See, they're stitching together all these photos to make one photo, so therefore they have to Photoshop it. So when people look at these Photoshopped images, a lot of times they think they're looking at some sort of actual image from space, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, I can show you how fake this blue marble is right here. We've done it a bunch of times in the past, but I thought I'd break it out again. All right. I just so happen to have blue marble 2.0 sitting here. All right. So there she is, right? They say that's where you live. Now I can zoom in, show you the Photoshop. Right here. Right here. So somehow, some way, those clouds just happy to copy and paste themselves, right? So you got to picture your globe here. A lot of people don't know it's Photoshop because, according to NASA, it has to be. So they think they're looking at a real picture. And it's as easy as this. Anytime you spot NASA blue marble, you zoom in right here, and there's your copy and pasted clouds. So you yourself can do this simple debunk and prove to any of your friends, any of your family members, that they're copy and pasting clouds. Here's the problem. Your friends and family will most likely say, no, those are just clouds that happen to look exactly like each other. But they didn't copy and paste the clouds. So I have shown this to people, and they will look at those two clouds right there that are copy and pasted. You can see those designs were definitely copy and pasted. And they will tell you that those just happen to be clouds that just happen to look exactly the same. So you're up against a very tough task if you want to show anybody any of this. But this is something anyone can do if you want to just prove to yourself or show anybody very simply that this is indeed just another photoshopped picture. It's artwork. So that means when you try and find any sort of evidence of where you live, where you are in the world, you're going to end up finding photoshopped images, cartoons. You're never going to actually see a real authentic image. And the ones they say are authentic, you can always find something wrong. All right. So these were some of the easy things I started with when I first started deconstructing the globe, looking into stuff like this. Yes, someone says, doesn't the clouds have words in them as well? That was one of the other globe images. I think it had the word sex in the clouds. Yes, that was a different one. I might even be able to find it real quick. Hang tight. Let me see if I can Google sex in the cloud. I'll Google it off screen so that way if I pull up any inappropriate images on accident, I don't get kicked off. No, I didn't want Sex in the City. Huh. Now I'm finding stuff about that being in a Disney movie. Sex in the Clouds it in a Lion King. Shit, I don't know. I can't find it right now. Anyway. So we'll move on. But yeah, one of the other things I like to show people is the animation of what it would supposedly look like if you were to see the sun, our sun, go flying by in outer space. Did you guys know that supposedly, according to mainstream science, the sun is shooting through space right now at 448,000 miles an hour, about 500,000 miles an hour? Our sun, the one we supposedly go around, is shooting through space at about 500,000 miles an hour. That's what they say. So I found an animation of what that would look like. All right. So here's an animation of what it would look like if the sun was indeed shooting through space as we were told. See, we're shown this in school. In school, they teach us this one as a kid. They don't show us the sun shooting through space. Never. Instead, they show us this one, but this is wrong. This is not what it would look like. That's right, it's incorrect. This is what it looks like. Shooting through space. They say that the Earth is going around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and that the sun is shooting through space at 445,000 miles an hour. This is what it would look like. See, that's what it would look like. Doesn't that look a lot more realistic? All right, so this is what is happening according to mainstream science right now, right? So when you go out and you look up at the sun and the moon and all those stars, this is what's happening according to mainstream science. We are shooting through space, going around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, while the sun itself shoots through space at 445,000 miles an hour. You can see all the planets whipping around there, right? Yet, here we go. This is my favorite part. You still see all the same constellations in the same spot, night after night, year after year. And every human has, since the beginning of human existence, since they've been looking at the stars, all the stars still in the same spot. All the same constellations, none of them have changed. So let's think about this for a minute. This is supposedly going on right now. This that we're looking at on the screen. Yet, since the beginning of humans looking at the stars, all the constellations, you know, like the Big Dipper, for instance, still in the same spot. But according to mainstream science, not only are we doing this following our sun, those stars we're looking at are also doing this in opposite directions. Are you following? This is what mainstream science says. So every star in the Big Dipper is doing this right here in this animation in different directions. And guess what? It still stays the same shape. No matter how long they've been doing this. Somehow, some way, the Big Dipper stays the exact same shape. All the constellations stay the same shape, even though they're all shooting in opposite directions from each other at unfathomable speeds. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? That's what they want you to believe. They want you to suspend all belief and believe everything is traveling at unfathomable speeds. You can't even comprehend how fast everything is going. And at the same time, you can't comprehend how far away everything is. So therefore, since you can't comprehend any of it, the Big Dipper stays the same shape. So well, keep this burned in your head, this image of this. So keep this in your head. All right. You got it in your head? All right. Now I'm going to show you the Big Dipper, and we're going to talk about how this is possible. Okay. So now we got the Big Dipper, right? Let's just choose this one. So all these stars in the Big Dipper, they're all shooting through space in different directions, different angles, probably is faster than our sun, right? Just all shooting off, and somehow, some way, every day when you look at it, it still looks like the Big Dipper. It doesn't change shape. We don't go shooting past any stars and get to see new stars. No, we're stuck seeing the same ones forever in the same spot. And you know what their excuse for this is? It's so far away. That's it. That's all they got. It's so far away. That's all they got to tell you. Well, it's so far away you can't tell that all those stars are moving at 500,000 miles an hour. You just can't tell. Calypso says globe is a load of BS. See, this is a very basic one that nobody really talks about, is that all the stars up there are supposedly gigantic fireballs shooting through space at like 500,000 miles an hour or more, all in different directions. And you know what shit they'll say? "Oh, we discovered a planet like Earth. Yeah, we discovered several planets that are like Earth." Oh, really? While we're shooting through space and they're shooting through space, just so happen to discover planets that are like Earth. Oh, and what? Are we going to somehow be able to launch a rocket off of something going that fast through space and then catch up to something else going that fast through space? Come on. When you really think about these speeds that they're applying here and everything shooting in other directions, they're talking about, oh, well, yeah, we took a picture of it. We took a picture of this other galaxy, and we think that there might be some Earths in this other galaxy. Meanwhile, you ask a simple question like, how does that stay the same shape? How does the Big Dipper stay the same Big Dipper shape since a 1,000 years ago and 1,000 years from today? How in the hell is it going to stay the same shape if all the stars that make up the Big Dipper are shooting in opposite directions at 500,000 miles an hour? Far away. It's far away from you. You ask them, well, how do you know how far it is? Oh, it's a 50 bazillion machillion light years away. Well, how did you come to that number? Oh, we measured the light for reflecting from it. See, they don't whip out a tape measure and measure any of these differences, these distances. They just pull one out of their ass. So they can tell you that star in the far right on the Big Dipper, that one is 4 kajillion miles away. But the one down below it is 84 light years. It's the difference between 4 kajillion and 84 light years. I don't know. You do the math. All right. So then we got a guy who will say, well, that doesn't mean the Earth isn't round. Round like what? Round like a plate? Round like a donut? Round? What are you, a child? Say you think it's a spinning pear rock, but round? That's what they taught you in school. Like right when you learn to basically talk and go to school, kindergarten level, right? They're like, Earth wound. Christopher Columbus discovered America and the Earth is wound. Okay? They used to think it was flat because they were stupid, but now we know it's wound. Repeat after me, Earth is wound. Earth is wound? Good job. You get an A, kid. You get to go on to first grade. Congratulations. Gonna learn about dinosaurs. That's why they start with this first. You have to be a little kid in order to believe this bullshit. You have to not have any intelligence or any wits about you. So they have to get you at an age. They have to separate you from your dumb shit parents, and they have to brainwash you with this bullshit. Uh, which takes me to my next point. Not only is the Earth not a globe, but also satellites in space, not a thing. And then outer space itself, also not a thing. You go trying to look up satellites in space. Look at all the cartoons you get. See, like this one. That's just art. That's a cartoon. That's a cartoon. Okay, this one doesn't look like a cartoon. But is that like a real, genuine satellite? So then I have to think to myself, okay, so could this be something that they could fake? For sure. In fact, it looks pretty hokey and stupid. It looks kind of like the lunar module, like it's just a piece of shit that they're trying to trick you as being a satellite. So it always comes down to, is something like this enough to convince you that they definitely have box with wings? And some of these box with wings out there, they say, are going around the Earth orbiting. And then some of these box with wings, they say, are just frozen up there, just stuck in one spot. Is this enough for you to believe that the Earth is covered with thousands of boxes with wings? It looks like this. So they want you to believe that that many satellites are up there. Then it comes down to, well, who takes the pictures of the satellites? Well, according to globetards, the other satellites take pictures of the satellites. A satellite took a picture of the satellite. Silly. You know, first thing I do when I get a new camera, I take pictures of other cameras. Right? So when they get a satellite up there, the first thing they like to do is point them at other satellites and be like, look, people, here's what satellites in space look like. Taking pictures of the satellites with the satellites. They can get these awesome pictures of satellites in space that look, like this. Just a nice zoomed in satellite, right? Totally real. And every satellite's built different. There is no satellite that looks the same as another satellite. So every single satellite is just an independent, different version right? They all look different. There's no uniformity in satellites whatsoever. Every satellite is a unique snowflake. Like, look at this one. Very basic, right? Very easy, basic concept. Then you have this classic style, 1960s kind of NASA style, right? Then you got the ones that have the dish, of course. All these amazing satellites. Gotta love it. So when I started looking up the satellites, I noticed an abundance of cartoons, and then just the thought of like, well, okay, so something's taking a picture of satellites, and the only answer they have is satellites. Satellites are taking pictures of satellites. So then when you ask for something like, okay, well, can you like zoom in on the flag on the moon and show us like in real time, like flag on the moon and stuff like that? Oh, no, we can't do that. They can't show you any of that. They can't do a live video feed of what's going on the moon, but they can take really up close, detailed pictures of satellites, right? You can send a satellite to take a picture of another satellite. That's totally doable, but have like, 24-hour live footage of the Earth from space, or show us some live video of the flag on the moon and all that stuff, the remnants left over. No, they can't quite do that. So it's funny how the technology's there for like, looking light years into the future with the James Webb telescope. They can see galaxies that are hundreds of millions of light years away. Oh my God. But then like something as simple as like, can you zoom in with any sort of telescope or anything here on Earth and show us any of that stuff that you supposedly left on the moon? No, that they can't do. No sort of technology like that. Can you show us the Earth rotating in real time from space? I mean, no. They can give you a quick 5-second quick spin, quick little animation, but they can't give you the real thing. So we've talked about satellites being attached to balloons. So I do believe that you can attach a satellite to a balloon, a sataloon, if you will. And I've even showed what those look like. Starks 3000 says, what's your take on NASA's 3 rovers on Mars? You know what? I have made a video about that, so I could just do a quick video break and show you that actually. I made a really good video about the Mars rovers a few different times. So I'll just bring up my most popular one and we'll watch just a little piece of it. I haven't watched it in a while, so it'll be fun for me too. All right, so.
Scientists will study not just the planet's surface, but also its core. The InSight lander is set to land just before 3 p.m. Eastern Time after traveling almost 300 million miles. Jamie Yukas is at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. Jamie, good morning.
It's called the 7 minutes of terror because everything has to go perfectly in the 7 minutes from the top of the atmosphere down to landing.
This spacecraft will enter Mars's atmosphere at more than 12,000 miles per hour, heating the vessel's shields to some 2,700 degrees. It will slow to less than 300 miles per hour once the parachute is deployed. Then it will release its heat shield. 3 legs will pop out, and small rockets will slow the spacecraft to about 3 miles per hour before it lands.
So we can't control the vehicle from Earth. We can't use a joystick to land. The computer on board the spacecraft has to do everything perfectly to get it to the surface.
Over the coming months, the lander's robotic arm will deploy one device to monitor seismic activity and another to dig 16 feet below the planet's surface to measure Mars's internal temperature.
We have lots of missions that have looked at the outside, but one of the big unknowns is what does the inside look like? Whether the core is solid or liquid. Those types of questions are really important for understanding how the planet, what it looked like when it first formed and how it got to be where it is today.
All right, you are looking live pictures of the JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Pasadena, California. We are mere minutes of finding out if this InSight probe will actually land on Mars. Let's listen in.
Ground stations are observing signals consistent with parachute deploy.
Marco Alpha, Marco Bravo, maintain lock status.
Telemetry shows parachute deployment. Radar powered on. Heat shield separation commanded.
This is really good news so far.
That's fantastic.
I'm on pins and needles.
Yes.
Depending on how you want to look at it, it appears NASA and/or the U.S. government, as well as the mainstream media, want the public to believe that NASA has successfully landed a probe on the surface of Mars. NASA claims they're going to have their probe stick out its little robot arm and probe itself about 16 feet into the ground. NASA claims by digging just a tiny 16-foot hole with the robot arm that they can test the temperatures beneath the surface of Mars and find out what the core of Mars is made out of.
All right, got a donation coming in from Starks 3000. Says sending back pictures of possible signs of water and sending back land samples. Thanks in advance. I'll listen for your answer. So I'm going to get to the point in this video, which I will show in the rest of here in a second. But there is no rovers on Mars, so anything that they're sending back is just, it's bullshit, basically. So they're here on Earth. Nothing is anywhere out there in space. There is no rovers on the moon. There is no rovers on Mars. They don't send remote control cars anywhere out there in space. That's bullshit. So what you're seeing is like a remote controlled rover here on Earth, and they're just sending you back some fake photos, some doctored photos, and then they're telling you that that's Mars. So in this video that I break down here in a minute, I break down like every aspect of how they fool the public by doing this. Everything from having the NASA crew pretend to celebrate when the car supposedly lands, to the bullshit images of any desert landscape that they can pass off as being Mars. So when you look at Mars through a telescope, you're just going to see a reddish dot, right? You're not going to see any sort of desert landscape. You're just going to see a reddish, orangish dot. And it looks like a star, basically, like a red star. But they want you to believe that through their telescopes, and when you get really close, that it's this desert world that you can land stuff on, people, remote control cars. It's not. So this isn't even a desert world that you can go to. All right, so let me continue with the video. This is actually a good video.
So that they can then find out how Earth may have formed. Yeah, as if you can dig a 16-foot hole and find out what the internal temperature of the core of a planet is. Hey, can any of us verify any of this information, or do we totally have to take NASA's word for it? Oh yeah, that's right. Like always, we're pretty much totally going to have to take NASA's word for it, as none of us get to verify any of this information. Wonderful. Now let's take a look at this computer graphic, shall we? Ooh, yeah. That looks wonderful. Except it is an artist's representation of what it would look like to send a probe to a fantasy land which they call Mars. Yeah, that's right. This is nothing but CGI. And there are millions of people who think that this artist's representation of what it looks like to go to Mars, they think this artist's representation is an actual, genuine video of the United States government, aka NASA, landing on Mars. And sad to tell you people, this is most definitely 100% CGI, not a real video. And the reason I know this is because the mainstream media used this same computer graphic days before the supposed landing. So if the mainstream media is using the computer graphic saying, here's what NASA plans on doing tomorrow, and then they show you the graphic, obviously it's not a real video of them landing on Mars. Do you get it? I know millions of people will believe this computer graphic is evidence and that they saw it with their own two eyes that a probe landed on Mars. Literally, people walking around right now who saw a computer graphic believe they saw with their own eyes a probe land on Mars. Ladies and gentlemen, NASA does not, even for a second, claim that that's real video of them landing on Mars. They used that computer graphic a day before they supposedly landed on Mars. 100% proof it is a computer graphic, and therefore not real video of anybody or anything landing on Mars. So here we are going on 2019, and apparently NASA has the ability to land a probe on Mars. However, they don't have the ability to attach a series of HD cameras to the probe so that they can then film what it looks like to enter Mars orbit and then land on Mars. No, we don't have any HD video footage or any video footage whatsoever from any cameras attached to the probe. However, we do have two, yes, count them, two still shots from the camera on board the probe. Let's go ahead and check out these still shots, shall we? Wow, holy shit. Look at that awesome photo. Apparently this was taken just after the NASA InSight probe landed on Mars' surface. And wow, look at the detail.
All right, I had a super chat come in from Angelo Zapp. No message attached, just the super chat. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. And as you can see, they don't give you any sort of high definition video. They don't even really give you any sort of evidence. A lot of times they'll give you a picture like this, a still shot of some dirt. That's how brazen they are with their evidence of them taking a car to space and landing it on Mars. They know they can just give the sheep a picture of some dirt, and the sheep will be like, "Wow, Mars, cool! One day people are gonna go to Mars. Isn't that cool? Wow!" So they actually can convince you that people are gonna go to Mars because they can convince you that a remote control car can go to Mars. And all they need to do that, show you a picture of dirt. Now, if you question this and say, hey, how do I know that that's real and not just like a picture of dirt? Be prepared to defend yourself. You're not allowed to question this, apparently. So there are dedicated globetards and nerds who will be like, why would they lie about this? There's no reason to lie about space or anything. Governments have no reason to lie. Personal incredulity. God. It will literally be too hard to lie about. It's more work to actually lie about it than it is to send a car to outer space.
Doesn't it just make you feel like you're right there on the red planet, right next to the probe right now? Wow, awesome. And now let's take a look at the second photo. Holy Neil deGrasse Tyson pear-shaped balls! That is the most amazing picture of Mars I've ever seen. Wow, I feel like I'm standing on the surface of Mars.
Right? So they can show you a mostly blocked image. Like, why would you set up the camera behind these instruments and then take like a pretty much obstructed picture of the Martian surface and expect everyone to ooh and ah over this? Like, see, they purposely obstruct their photo so that like you think this is for sure taken from the rover. I mean, this is obviously where you would put the camera on a rover. Of course, you would set up the camera just like that so that you could take obstructed, shitty shots. And that, of course, has to be Mars in the background. That can't be Utah, can't be Arizona, can't be Nevada, can't be Devon Island, can't be any sort of desert landscape anywhere else here on Earth. No, it has to be Mars. I mean, look how red it is. No way you could doctor up some dirt here on Earth and call it Mars. No way. They would never lie. Never. All right. Mike Hooligan with a donation says NASA is just a was to steal our money. NASA is just a was to steal our money. Well, that and a lot more. See, they steal your mind as well. They send your mind into fake outer space. They tie that together with the fake Big Bang, which created you, in their words, in their world. They can tie that in, the fake space cosmology along with their dinosaur story, right? And asteroids killing the dinosaurs and asteroids pelting the moon. And so they can take this lie and not only steal your money, but more importantly, steal your mind. So I hope the guy that asked about these rovers on Mars, hopefully he's learning something. So now we're about to get into the funny part. So we went over the nuts and bolts of this. But now we're going to get into the funny part where they actually supposedly land the rover and then the crew celebrates. That's actually my favorite part because they have a different crew every time. So they don't reuse the same people. None of the same people work at NASA who used to work there years ago, right? So it doesn't matter how good of a qualified worker you are at NASA. They're going to find some young kid to replace you by the next year or the next mission. So every mission where they land something and have like an entire crew there ready to celebrate, it's always a different crew, see? So I guess there's a lot of people, there's a high turnover rate. A lot of people getting let go at NASA. All right.
I mean, that totally has to be Mars. That can't be anywhere else on Earth that has a desert-like surface that they're portraying to be Mars. No, it 100% absolutely has to be Mars, right? And I hope you're catching my sarcasm because I'm laying it on pretty thick. So as it stands, where's the physical evidence for NASA landing on Mars? Let's see. We have the mainstream media showing us a computer graphic. That's definitely not evidence. And then we have a couple of still shot photos which come from NASA, one of them being absolutely terrible and not showing anything. and then the other one looking like it could have been shot in Arizona or southern Utah, or basically any desert area, and then they could have claimed it was Mars. So where's the actual evidence? So far, I'm not finding not any shred of real evidence that this InSight probe landed on Mars. The only thing left we have is a room full of NASA employees clapping and giving each other awkward high fives. Yep, that's it. Have you seen these people? These NASA employees who sit in a room and they're supposedly working right now, waiting on one lady to give them all the news. Apparently at NASA, all the employees just sit quiet while one lady gives the news, while all her co-workers hang on her every word and then clap and cheer like a bunch of children who just got told that they're going to have double recess today. Yay! Woo! Yeah! Woo! Woo! Here, let's watch this bullshit.
Radio science reports sudden change in Doppler.
Ground stations are observing signals consistent with parachute deploy.
Marco Alpha, Marco Bravo, maintain lock status.
Telemetry shows parachute deployment. Radar powered on. Altitude convergence. The radar has locked on the ground.
Yes.
Standing by for lander separation.
Carrier interruption on Marco Alpha and Marco Bravo.
Gravity turn. Altitude 400 meters.
We're getting there.
300 meters. 200 meters. 80 meters.
All right, y'all. Is it me, or does this dude look a whole hell of a lot like Alex Trebek? What do you guys think?
Meters, 20 meters, 17 meters, standing by for touchdown.
All right, look at this dude right here to the left. It was pointed out after I made this video that the dude on the left here looks like he was jerking off, and then he like climaxes at this point. Let me back it up. So this dude on the left, it kind of looks like he was jerking off the whole time. Watch.
Touchdown confirmed.
Touchdown! Woo! Yeah! USA! 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 Yay! Woo, woo. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Woo!
This never gets old.
No, it doesn't, Rob.
You got that right, Rob. It just never gets old watching NASA lie to the public and steal billions of dollars. Man, I could just watch this stuff all day long. It never gets old. So now, without further ado, the grand finale. Here it comes.
Touchdown confirmed.
What a celebration.
That was fun.
Yeah, that handshake. We've been practicing it. I know. They were better at it than we are.
I think we should make that a thing because that was an awesome
Exactly,
handshake.
it really was.
This has been just another opinion from Jake the Asshole. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.
All right, see? It was a pretty good video, right? See, so whenever someone asks me, like, you know, is the Mars rover real? And rather than me just be like, no, as you can see, I've made an entire video about that. And that wasn't even the only one I made. I made another one after that. So that one was like 5-6 years ago. I made another one since then. And I made fun of an entirely different crew. So the very next crew that they used was like an entirely different crew, none of the same people, and they didn't do any of the silly like handshakes and stuff. So they didn't seem as excited. So I pointed out at the next one that the NASA crew seems to be less excited now. So all they have to do is just fill a room full of basically like kids, right? Just like early 20-somethings, and just have them pretend to be really excited when a lady says something. T-5, 500 feet, 400 feet, 3 seconds, 2, 1, touchdown. Ah! Whoa! USA! USA! Ah! Oh yeah, they went to space for sure. There's no way people would be that happy, you know, if they didn't go to space. Of course they're that happy because they went to space. Nobody would fake being happy about going to space. No how, no way. I like how the whole room, they just sit there and listen to that lady. Like that's their job. They don't do anything or press any buttons like, oh, I got to make sure that the fucking landing gear's down. That's my job. Now you just sit there and listen to the lady and then celebrate. That's what you do at NASA. Well, what did you do today at NASA? I sat there and waited for a lady to tell me to celebrate. And then I celebrated because I'm a science man. I'm like a high-ranking NASA science man. Oh, what do? I sit there and wait for a lady to tell me the good news, and then I celebrate with my friends. Right? Oh, thanks, Lee. I appreciate that. All right. So the first major space mission that people learn about as being fake is, of course, the moon landing. And then from the moon landing, then you can figure out that all space travel is fake. So therefore, government's not only lying about space, they're lying about where you live. And so it can be pretty jarring when you first wake up to this and find out that that crazy stuff you heard on the internet was actually true. That you don't live on a spinning globe in outer space. And that people never walked on the moon. And see, that's another thing we learn as a child. They kind of shove it down our throat. And you hear that there are crazy people who believe we didn't land on the moon. That was always how we were told. Oh, there's crazy people who believe we didn't land on the moon. And then when you look into it, the moon landing is the dumbest thing. It's the easiest thing to debunk, really. And so once you learn that humans never walked on the moon, yet they're still maintaining that lie, then of course all the rest of the space missions fall simultaneously along with it, because they didn't fake the moon landing but then go to space for real for any other reason. So you can't say, oh, the moon landings are fake, but the ISS is real. Oh, yeah, moon landings are fake, but they totally landed a remote control car on Mars, man. That's for real. Now, once you figure out space travel's fake to the moon, space travel then is fake everywhere. So we'll go back and look at a classic video. We'll just do a little clip. We're not going to watch the whole thing. But here is a classic clip from me breaking down the lunar lander here, the lunar module.
So, today we'll focus on one of my favorite contraptions ever constructed in all of American science. It was a $6 billion feat of American achievement. It was amazing. It was that piece of shit we call the lunar module. In my opinion, the lunar module looks like a fucking homeless tweaker's shelter. In my opinion, it never landed on the fucking moon. In my opinion, if you think it landed on the moon, you're a fucking idiot. Now, I know many people will be like, oh, you don't think we went to the moon? No, but I only looked into this very recently, so I'm sure a lot of you have never looked into it. And one of the first things I saw that I was like, holy shit.
Okay, so this video clip is like 7 years old. So if you hear me saying I just recently looked into the moon landing, this is 7 years ago. So this was like one of the first things that I covered on my channel was the moon landing being fake. And just to show you, like, it still stands the test of time. All these things still apply today. All the things that I say about the lunar module, all still true today. They're never going to not be true. And so all you have to do is look into it once, look at this lunar module, use your logic. And then from there on, you know, all the moon landings were fake. All space missions are fake. And it really just starts with breaking down your first space mission being fake in order to open up your mind and get to the point where you can come to grips with all of it being fake. Because I used to love space. Space seemed like such a fun subject to learn about when I was a kid. And this was something they didn't really show us or talk about. So when learning about people walking on the moon, going to space, we never really watched like videos where we got to see the lunar module look like this. So I didn't take a good look at the actual module they claim land on the moon until somebody pointed out that the moon landing was fake, right? So I had to go basically my whole childhood and a lot of my adult life thinking that people walked on the moon without ever actually taking a look at the supposed spacecraft that landed there. So a lot of people who believe in these things never take the time to actually look at them, let alone question them. They don't even take a look at it.
Shit, what is that? Was the lunar module. So when I look at the lunar module and I say, holy shit, what is that? And I started zooming in on it and taking a closer look. Well, it looked as if it was made of tinfoil, curtain rods, scotch tape, an old tarp. It looked pretty pathetic. It looked like a piece of shit. It looked like a homeless tweaker's shelter. So that set off my spidey sense. And the more I dug into the moon landing, the more I found out it was all bullshit. But the lunar module has a special place in my heart because it looks so fucking terrible. I'm just surprised more people don't notice how bad it is.
I always laugh at this thing like, what is that? Is that like a speaker system? Is that like the 1969 lunar module speaker system for like when they announce you need to like come back and eat some lunch? Come back, fellas, it's time to eat some lunch on the moon. It's lunchtime. Come back and eat. Over. Like, what the hell is that? Just look at what is on the screen and ask yourself why and how and what. Personal incredulity. That's a top of the line speaker system for back in 1969, so that they could announce it was lunchtime on the moon. Personal incredulity. Right? If you just take like a look, just zoom on into any part of this spacecraft, it's alarming how bad it looks, and that this was what they used to fool people. And that globe defenders and space defenders alike will stand by this and be like, yes, that's an awesome speaker system. Yeah, it looks amazing. It looks wonderful. Tinfoil? There's no tinfoil. You're crazy. It's supersonic space foil, and it's really expensive. That's what they'll say. If you point at the tinfoil, they will say that that is supersonic space foil. And it's like $1 million per inch. Costs $1 million per square inch for that supersonic space foil, mister. Don't you dare call it tinfoil. What's hilarious is when you find somebody who's dedicated to protecting space, right? They're going to defend it against anyone at all costs. Like they'll have to tell you that nothing looks peculiar about this or any part of the spacecraft, that it looks awesome and it was totally functionable and well built. It's hilarious to have someone actually try and defend a pile of shit. Imagine someone trying to like defend a rotten dog turd as being the best tasting food item in the world. This is like what they're doing here. They're defending like a piece of trash that's an absolute lie and a joke. And in order to defend their beliefs, they have to look you in the eye and be like, yeah, it's awesome space foil. And that right there is a really awesome speaker system. And it looks really well built. And it totally worked perfectly. And we lost and destroyed this technology. That's the best part. All this wonderful technology that they got to the moon with, they lost and destroyed it. So they can't even figure out how to build another one of these, whatever the fuck we're looking at. They don't know how to rebuild that because they lost and destroyed it.
It actually looks. So today we're going to focus on nothing but the lunar module. And because I can show you how terrible it looks, and I can tell you how I think it looks terrible, there's also going to be the rebuttal. And the rebuttal from NASA is always awesome. They always have an answer for everything. So I'm going to save all you YouTube haters, all you fucking bitches who show up and comment on the YouTube like, hey, flat-earth asshole, did you ever think of this? NASA says, no, 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 no. So I'm actually going to read NASA's answer to why the lunar module looks like such a piece of shit. They have an answer, and I'm going to read it to you. So no need to copy and paste NASA's answer, because I'm going to fucking read it to you right now.
Like everything else, the ascent and descent stages were built to be as light as possible, but because they knew they would operate only in a vacuum, many things really didn't need to be sturdy, nor did the shape of it matter. It would never have to deal with the aerodynamic drag. In fact, the descent stage was designed to buckle in the right places upon landing. That was how it absorbed the impact. It was also going to be used once. This was the most weight-efficient method of handling the shock of landing. That would be the main source of the wrinkling on the two struts wrapped in black on either side of the middle of the picture. They had buckled as they were designed to, being part of the descent stage. The foil is MLI, multi-layer insulation, and it is actually pretty complex. Heat is transmitted in a vacuum only by radiation. The key to insulation is to reflect as much energy away as possible. The layers were designed to do this maximally, and the layers had only enough contact between them to maintain the integrity of the material. Contact points create heat conduction, making them less effective. Thus, it is very wrinkly. All the other covering material you see is also just there to protect whatever is underneath from the effects of sunlight, mostly the heat of it, which is very hard to dissipate in a vacuum. You need fancy liquid cooling systems. Even if you don't use the fancy MLI, if you stop sunlight from hitting what's underneath, much of your job is done. That is all it has to do, and it was made merely sufficient for that job. Perhaps they were also thinking a bit about keeping dust out. Weight savings were more important than looks. The fancy stuff is underneath all those makeshift looking panels.
From an analytical standpoint, photographic anomalies have to be sought out with an understanding of lighting and shadows. The most straightforward is simple. When objects are lit solely by the sun, as all the scenes on the moon were said to be, after all, lighting equipment was not only impractical, it was unnecessary in bright sunlight, then all shadows, regardless of the landscape, will run parallel with one another and never intersect, as shown by this example. In these seldom seen photographs, obtained from a rarely used auxiliary NASA archival site, it is clear that these scenes were lit with artificial light. These shadows, which are cast at different angles, are evidence that a second light source is being used.
All right, so there's a bazillion anomalies you can look up, the shadows not matching this and that. But my thing is like, if the lunar module itself looks like a pile of trash, the shadows not matching is just like, there's extra evidence piled on the lunar module looking like a pile of trash. So there's the lunar module looking like a pile of trash. That's enough evidence for me right there. But if you want to sprinkle on some extra, evidence on top of that, you got the shadows and plenty of other anomalies. So there's no shortage of moon landing debunks out there. Yes, that was a clip from a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. Exactly. So this was a video I made years ago. I put together a lot of different clips to show how space travel is a hoax. All right. All right, so anybody who's newer to this channel from me covering the football stuff, when I started this channel, I was covering space being fake, the moon landing being fake, the Earth not being a spinning ball. So I kind of wanted to go back and retouch on some of the basics of those subjects. For anybody who might be new here, because it is a very important subject. And sometimes I just need to go back and even refresh myself on all this stuff and just reteach myself how to talk about it again, how to explain it. Sometimes I go years without really explaining these concepts, and then somebody will ask me a very simple question, like, oh, you think space is fake? Well, then what's the moon? If do you think the moon is fake? It's like, no, I don't think the moon is fake. I just don't think it is what they told us. So there has been quite a few people who showed up because of the football content that I put out. And not only is professional sports rigged, this world we live in is rigged. So basically everything you thought you knew, be it politics, sports, where you live, the Earth being a spinning pear rock in outer space, all this stuff that you thought you knew about is a lie. And that's why I started this channel, was to talk about it with other like-minded individuals and to help teach people what's going on and what we're learning in school and what we hear on the news, that the majority of it's bullshit. So that was the whole reason for me even starting this channel. Indeed, and that's what I do. I question pretty much everything, you know, especially if it's going to come on the mainstream news, who has been proven to lie over and over again. So you should definitely question anything that comes from the government, anything you see on TV, especially that. JL with a donation says, one thing I learned: wherever you go on this earth, earth is below your feet. So they want you to believe that if you go up high enough, you can pop out of the Earth's atmosphere and then you're going to float. And this actually, I can tie in an old little comedy bit that I made up a long time ago called Mini Moons. So let me see if I can recall my old Mini Moons routine. So it pretty much goes like this. So what keeps my feet stuck here to the Earth? They say it's gravity. So gravity is the thing that when you jump, you come right back down. You jump, whoop, keeps your feet stuck, right? But they say if you go up high enough, you leave the Earth's atmosphere, then you pop out and then you float. And then you're no longer in gravity, right? And that causes you to float because there's no gravity. Oh, no, no, no. There is gravity out in space. But you float around out when you get to outer space, you float around, but there still is gravity out there. Like the sun still is attracting the earth and causing it to go around in an orbit. And the moon is going around the earth in an orbit. So out in outer space, gravity causes things to go around each other. But here on earth, it causes you to be stuck to the earth. See how that works? So gravity changes how it works once you leave Earth. So the thing about gravity is, like, it works in all these magical and mysterious ways because gravity. So for instance, does the Earth attract the moon? Like, is the moon going to smash into the Earth because of gravity? No, the moon goes around the Earth because of gravity. But you stay stuck to it. So if you jump, you come back down, you stay stuck to the Earth because of gravity. But the moon doesn't come smash into the Earth because of gravity. No, the moon goes around the Earth because of gravity, right? Does the sun suck the Earth into the sun? Like, are we going to get sucked into the sun and die? No, 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 no. Gravity doesn't cause the Earth to get sucked into the sun. No, it causes them to go around suns. So check this out. You are stuck to Earth, right? You're stuck to it. You jump, you stuck because of gravity. But then when you get out in space, then it causes moons to go around planets, and it causes planets to go around suns, right? So that's what happens when you get out in outer space. Everything, all the concepts of gravity change, but it's still the same gravity, right? Okay. Now, what about the moon? Can the moon have a moon of its own? Can the moon have a mini moon? That's what I want to know. Can the moon have another little moon going around it? How come there's no mini moon? Is that a thing? Does any galaxy have a mini moon? No, 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 no. That's when gravity stops. You see, planets can have moons, but moons can't have mini moons. No, 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 no. A moon doesn't have enough gravity to have a mini moon of its own. That's just crazy. But planets can have moons, right? So planets can have multiple moons, but the moons can't have mini moons of their own. That's where gravity stops, right? Wouldn't it make more sense if there was like a mini moon orbiting the moon, and then a mini itty bitty moon orbiting that mini moon, and then it just kept on going and going until it got extra small, and there was two little like sand particles going around each other at the end? That would be really cool. You know, after I asked why there was no mini moons, about a year or so later, they actually said they discovered Earth has a mini moon. So the moon doesn't have a mini moon, but the Earth apparently does have a mini moon. And they came up with that after I invented the concept of a mini moon. No one had ever said mini moon until I brought it up. And then NASA actually invented one and said that there is one. You can't see it, you can't verify it, but according to them, there is a second little tiny moon that's really small. Swear, look it up. Now, that didn't exist until I asked why there was no mini moons. So did they come up with the mini moon because of me? Absolutely yes. All right, Mike Hooligan says, love your work. Can you tell Aubrey to go to bed? What is that, like your daughter or something? Go to bed, Aubrey. Mike Hooligan sent me a donation and told me to tell you to go to bed. So I think it's time for you to go to bed, little missy. There you go. Shrooming Newman forces your moderators are heavy-handed. Yeah, sometimes they will time people out for maybe a mistake. Sometimes people are joking, and it comes off as an insult towards me. So the mods are told to block out anyone who's like straight up insulting me. So if you think like you get to come in here and just tell everyone they're stupid, stir up a bunch of shit in chat, and that should all just be fine and good, well, somebody will eventually spot you and get rid of you, if not me. And every once in a while, somebody makes a joke and says like, oh, Jake, your hat's fucking stupid and retarded and you're a bitch. And then they'll get blocked and they'll be like, what? Why did you do that to me? I love Jake. I was just kidding. So sometimes people will like say something that sounds an awful lot like an insult. So mistakes do happen. Just don't try and stir shit up, and don't try and insult me over and over, and chances are you'll be okay. Pat said you verbally assault his balls. That guy is so pathetic. I literally blocked the guy because like he was just trying to waste my time. I figured out he's just trying to agitate me and waste my time, repeat the same thing. And so I blocked him. And then I saw Sports Gematria channel did a video about Zach Hubbard recently. That's all he does, but he did one recently, and I thought it was funny. And I commented, "Congrats to the winners," which is something Zach always says. And Pat found my comment and commented to me, because that's the only way that he can comment to me, because I have him blocked, is if he finds me on another channel. So he can't comment here, but if he sees me comment on another channel, he'll find my comment and then say something to me. Like he'll repeat the same stupid shit that he's been repeating like the same thing over and over. I guess he thinks that like it really bothers me and hurts me or something. Really, it's just quite sad that the guy has no life and is like thinking about me all the time, to where he like follows me around in other comment sections. I don't know, just a total whacker. Yes, he's a monotone loser, and his last video failed miserably. Haha, Pat, your last video got 500 views and nobody liked it. It was pathetic. You're a failure. You're irrelevant. You're a has-been. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye. All right. He is, man. Like he started making up stuff about me and in his head, and then believing it was true. Like, one of the last things he said to me before I blocked him was like, "You're swimming in student loan debt, and that's why you live in an office." I'm like, "I don't have any student loan debt. You just made that up." And he's like, "Nuh-uh, you have tons of student loan debt." I'm like, "Bro, I went to fucking Modesto Junior College, which is the cheapest college in the world, and I got a federal and state grant. I went to college for free, bro. I have zero debt whatsoever." So I tell him this, and he's like, "Nuh-uh, you're lying." So he made up in his head and told me that I'm swimming in student loan debt. And when I explained to him that's 100% incorrect, not true, he calls me a liar. So he's to the point where whatever he makes up in his head has to be true. "Well, you live in an office, so therefore you have to have student loan debt. I'm Pat." That's how much of a fucking idiot he is. So then he goes around telling people I got kicked out of the flat earth. That's another thing. He tells people that I got kicked out of the flat earth. Anyone who's followed this channel knows like how it started, how it works, and what I have made videos about in the past, and all the people I've exposed. According to Pat, I got kicked out of the flat earth. So a flat earth is a thing that you can apparently be kicked out of. And according to Pat, I got kicked out. And that's why I started making NFL content. If you ask Pat, he will tell you I got kicked out of the flat earth by, I guess, Jaron and Dave, I guess is who he thinks I got kicked out by. And that I started making NFL as rigged content because I'm a grifter. And that's why I made NFL rigged content, but because I got kicked out of the flat earth. Pat tells people that as if that is a fact. Sad that I even have to explain like who this guy is and what's going on, but I had to like block him because he got so psychotic, like following me around and trying to like argue with me and make stuff up, that at this point he's just making things up that aren't true and easily verifiable as not true. But he doesn't like to admit that he's wrong, so anytime I prove him wrong, tell him he's wrong, he just goes, "Nuh-uh, I'm Pat. Anything that I think has to be right. I wouldn't think it if it wasn't right." Yes, cyber stalkers. I've got a few of them. Pat is one who is like one of the most jealous I've ever seen. He became this like weirdo cyber stalker of this channel because like I made videos about the NFL being rigged, and I made better videos than him. They got more views. I blew the subject up. I made it go viral. And so because he wasn't the number one guy, and because I got more views than him and all his loser turd cronies put together, he threw a fit and tried to make a bunch of hit piece videos about me. None of those worked. So now he's claimed that he's quitting, not going to make NFL content anymore. But he still goes around and stalks me. Tells people I got kicked out of the flat earth. But anyway, he's irrelevant, so no reason to talk about him anymore. Brining Shitely with a donation says, "What's your take on the Northern Lights?" I have no take on them. So as far as stuff in space goes, I look at it for just what I see. Like, for instance, I don't think stars are suns millions of light years away. I think they're twinkly dots. What are they? I see a twinkly dot. So stuff like people ask me, "What do you think the moon is?" Like, I don't know what the moon is. I don't know what the sun is. I don't know what the stars are. I just look at them as far as what I can see. So as far as the moon goes, I see a gray thing in the sky, but I don't think it's a gray rock that people can walk on. As far as the sun, I don't think it's a gigantic fireball. I see a extremely bright disk in the sky, but I don't know what it is, how it works. And so, same with anything up there in the sky. It's almost as if everything in the sky is magical in one way or another. So, when you look at clouds, it's magical that they can hold all that water and be flying. And they can release the water. The water falls, but somehow the water's stored up there in the clouds. It's really quite amazing, everything in the sky. What is the sun? I don't know. What is the moon? I don't know. What are those stars? I don't know. So I admit that I don't know what these things are, and I know that what we're told is a lie. So I'm not going to try and tell you, oh, the stars are this, that, and the other, and here's how they work. But what I can tell you is that they aren't suns millions and billions of miles away as we're told. So I can tell you what we're told is wrong, why it's wrong, why I think it's wrong. But I can't exactly tell you what this world is or how it works, because a lot of the stuff that we see up there defies explanation. It really does. So when you look at the sun, the moon, and the stars, they all do some magical things that defy what we're told. Yeah, exactly. So the story we're told about clouds creating moisture and dropping it back down on us and stuff, like a cloud can just show up and form and hold all this water and just dump just thousands of gallons and then move on and disperse and disappear. It's very strange, exactly. So you wonder, just the simplest of things now are back on the table. Like, where the hell does water come from? How the hell does that work? Like, I can't believe the story they told me about the spinning ball in outer space. So I might as well also consider that the story they told me about the levitating clouds that are filled with thousands and thousands of gallons of water, that must also be bullshit too. I don't know if there is a million miles above us. So when you say, what do you think is a million miles above us? It might not go that far. So I don't know how far up goes, but I doubt very seriously it goes a million miles. So when I look at twinkly dots in the sky, I don't think of them as being stars millions of miles away. I don't think anything that I can see up there is a million miles away. I don't know how close it is or if it's even there. So maybe perhaps the closer you get to that stuff, then it disappears. So what we're seeing up there might actually not even really be there the closer you get to it. So the long and short of it is, I don't think anything is a million miles above us. And see, giving off numbers like this, there's nobody who can really prove that. So I've heard proponents of the flat Earth try and say that it's 3,000 miles away. Well, the problem is, how can we see it in different places at the same time if it's 3,000 miles away? So are you saying there's a million suns at once that are all 3,000 miles away? Because on the equinox, I'm going to be able to see the sun on the equator come up from 90 degrees east, and I'm going to be able to see the sun come up from 90 degrees east down at the tippity tip down south, the Cape Horn. And if I was to go up into the northernmost spot in Canada, I would still see the sun rise from the east, dead east on the equinox. So how would that work? how would I see the sun come up in different locations at the same time if it's 3,000 miles away? So if you look at the data we're given and then you try to match it up, what you'll find is that the angles of observation to the sun, to the moon, to stars don't triangulate back to one source. So it's kind of tough to say the sun's 3,000 miles away when the data doesn't even match up or triangulate. But they say that the moon is 238,000 miles away. And then they say that the sun is 93 million miles away. So what you have to believe, let's see, what can I do? So what you have to believe is you have something small and you have something, doesn't work, and you have something big, and that, right? They just look like they're the same size. See? These are the same size, right? They just look like it. So what they want you to believe is that this is the sun, and like this is the moon. I mean, even bigger, but this will work for comparison. So they want you to believe that you on Earth, when you see the moon and you see the sun in the sky at the same time, which you can every month, see the moon and the sun in the sky at the same time, and they both are like about the same size, right? So you got the moon over on one side and then you got the sun over on the other side of the sky, and they're both looking like they're the same exact size. You know what they say is just pure luck. The sun's huge like this, 93 million miles away, and then the moon 238,000 miles away, and they just so happen to line up to your human eye here on Earth and appear to be the same size. Just dumb luck. Can you believe that? That's what they want you to believe, is that it's pure dumb luck, that the sun is gigantic, the moon tiny, and they just so happen to look up to be about the same size because of cosmic luck. Let's talk about that cosmic luck for a minute. You, a human, are said to be this little insignificant piece of nothing here on the Earth as it spins around, following the sun around and shooting through space at these ungodly speeds that you can't fathom. They want you to believe you're just this little tiny human, this little speck of nothing. And when you are on the Earth, you can see a moon and you can see the sun in the sky at the same time. And they just so happen to look to be about the exact same size. Just pure luck. Oh, and guess what else they do? Eclipse each other. Woo! They eclipse each other too. What are the odds that in random chaos during a Big Bang explosion, all these things are going to coalesce and form to where you, a human, can see a itty bitty bitty little moon and a gigantic ass mother freaking sun just so happen to be the same size and eclipse. They eclipse perfectly and line up perfectly. Wow. Can you believe that? That magical Big Bang created everything in such a way that you, little insignificant speck of nothing human with your tiny little eyes, can see the sun and moon the exact same size, even though they're not. Wow. Isn't that an awesome story? Because if you ask a globehead how in the hell that happened, they have to admit to you it was just dumb luck. A Big Bang put the Earth in the Goldilocks zone and you just happen to somehow be alive on this perfect Earth that was in a perfect spot, and your eyes just happen to see this little itty bitty moon that looks to be about the same size as the gigantoloid burning ball. And when you look at them, somehow you can see them in the sky at the same time, looking like they're the same size. Just pure dumb luck. Okay, see, so this is what people who don't understand and are trying to like make the whole thing sound stupid will say. And this isn't something I said. He says, so you know the sun and moon is fake. I didn't say the sun and moon is fake. I said the sun is not a gigantic fireball, and the moon is not a gray rock that people walked on. Those stories are fake. I can't tell you what they are or how they work, but I can tell you big gigantic fireball 93 million miles away is wrong, and I can tell you the little gray rock that people walked upon, that's wrong too. But what are those things? I can't tell you. But the fact that they're the same size when you look at them with your eyes, that basically means that the odds of that happening during a Big Bang random explosion, I don't know, that would be like sending a tornado through a junkyard and expecting the tornado to build perfectly working cars with the parts. Imagine a tornado hits a junkyard, picks up all the parts, and assembles perfectly working cars. That's basically like the story that they want you to believe happened. Yeah, get lost, dude. If you want to believe their horseshit story, by all means, go for it. But you're not gonna fucking shit in my comment section. So you're gone. Bye. Here's the story that they want to sell you. And I like to break it down like this in detail. So we'll start from the beginning. From the beginning, everything which ever existed all coalesced into this little point for a reason that nobody knows. So everything that ever was coalesced into this little point until this little point could no longer hold everything in the world, and it exploded outward. So this was just the most violent cataclysmic explosion that ever happened, and everything that ever was just shot outward, right? And just went in every direction at unfathomable speeds. And everything right then was created. So then, all this stuff that's shooting out in random outer space is starting to coalesce together because of gravity. So you have all this matter coalescing together to create suns, and then planets, and then moons. So there was a big gigantic explosion. Shit started to settle down, and then once it settled down enough, it coalesced together and created suns and planets and moons. Do you follow? Okay. So Earth just so happened, out of stroke of luck, happened to be in the Goldilocks zone. You guys heard the story about Goldilocks and the Three Bears? It was about a bitch who like barged her way in some bear's home and ate their porridge, sat on their furniture and slept in their beds. She's a stupid little bitch for doing that. She deserved to be eaten. She deserved to die for what she did. Anyway, they named where we are in the universe the Goldilocks zone after the Goldilocks fairy tale about the girl eating the bear's porridge. So Goldilocks zone is a place where it's not too hot and it's not too cold. And that's where we live. Isn't that awesome that here on Earth we have this place where there's liquid water. Some of it's frozen, some of it's not. There's some ice, some liquid water, air to breathe, green plants growing, all this stuff, right? I mean, pretty amazing. And you know why? It's because we are in the Goldilocks zone. If we'd have just been a little closer to the sun, everything would be dead, be too hot, a little too far away, everything would just be frozen in ice, everyone would be dead. Nothing would ever live. We just so happen to be in that magical Goldilocks zone. You know, like in the fairy tale where she eats the bear's porridge. That shit, right? So we're in this awesome Goldilocks zone. But here's the problem. There is no life on the planet when it first formed. So how are we going to go about getting life on this planet? Well, you need oceans. So where did the oceans come from? Well, they say that Earth got hit by like a bunch of icy comets, maybe. It doesn't happen anymore, but it happened back then. So somehow Earth didn't have oceans, and then it got oceans. They think it's because of icy comets. Or no, wait, they think it's because of volcanoes created clouds. Clouds created moisture, and then the clouds rained down just bazillions of gallons of water and created the oceans. It doesn't happen now, but it did back then. So icy comets or volcanoes which created clouds, one or the other or both, they're not real sure. Somehow, some way, the oceans showed up. Oceans don't show up now, but they did then. Okay? So once you have an ocean, you have this really wet place. Now you need some life. So where does the life come from? Well, they think that maybe a comet, asteroid, whatever, comstroid, hit. And maybe there was some cells on that asteroid. And when it hit the water, they jumped off and started swimming around. So there were these little cells that showed up because of asteroid comets, they think. And they smacked into the water and started fucking swimming around. So now you got a bunch of little tiny cells just to swim in and swim in, and they're like mixing and stuff. And they call this primordial soup. It was like a primordial soup. You know, you order a bowl of soup and it's got all the primordials in there and stuff, you know, mixing together, creating life. It's awesome. So there's all these cells floating around in this water, and the cells decide not only are they going to live and flourish in a place where there's never been life before, that they're going to evolve and become multicellular creatures. So a single cell creature got tired of being a single cell creature, decided to merge with another creature and create a dual celled creature. And then all these cells started clumping together because they didn't want to be single cells. They wanted to be clumps of cells. So this first clump of cells started getting bigger and bigger. And then guess what? It turned into a fish. And so all the clumps of cells then decided they wanted to have fins and swim around better. So they became fish. All right, so now you have fish swimming around in the ocean. And then some fish, not all fish, some fish got bored and decided that if they grew legs, they could walk around up on the land and have way better adventures on the land and find way cooler food and live a way better life. So some of the fish, not all of them, but the really smart ones, decided to start evolving legs. All right, and so the first fish turned into a frog and then hopped up out of the water. All right. The frog then turned into like a dinosaur, and then the dinosaurs died, and then monkeys. No, the fish turned into monkeys. That's right. The fish came out of the water and turned into monkeys, right? And then the monkeys lost all their hair and decided to become people. Well, some of the monkeys did. Some of the monkeys decided to become people, and then some of the monkeys decided to stay monkeys. All right, that's what happened, of course. So there were these monkeys that decided they wanted to have jobs and work in cubicles and be like people instead of monkeys. And so they evolved and became really smart and built society and became people. But then the rest of the lazy monkeys that didn't feel like being people, they stayed monkeys. And here, all the half monkey people that evolved, all the like half monkey, they all died because they weren't good enough at surviving. So we got monkeys who stayed monkeys, and then we got monkeys who turned into people. All the half monkey people in between, they're dead. Okay, so now you got monkeys, right, who are now people. And here's the thing is we know that we used to be monkeys, and we know that we came from this magical explosion. So basically here we are, a bunch of evolved monkeys sitting here talking about how he came from a magic explosion. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that a wonderful story? Has to be true. Oh yeah, man. What about the dinosaurs, right? What about those mythical creatures that they made up to support their evolution story? Yeah, there's no actual like real skeletons. All the skeletons are fake. And every depiction in a movie is just an artist's rendition of what they think a dinosaur looked like. Blue Moon says you need to debate some creationists. Well, I come from a side of creation, so I'm against the mainstream narrative that the Earth was created through a big bang or anything of the such. So, creationists who believe like Jesus or whatever God just popped the Earth into existence or whatever, to me that's more believable than the story we're told. Even though I don't believe that's the case either. I couldn't tell you how this place was created or when or why. I haven't been able to get to the bottom of that. See, I don't pretend to know such things. David Yount says I big banged your mom. It's a good one. Comedic relief. And 17.2 miles says all this debate really doesn't matter. We'll never know the truth of any of this. Seems like a simulation to me. Well, yeah, the answers to these questions, like what is the sun, what is the moon, how do they work? Yeah, this is stuff that you probably won't ever figure out in your life. But I still find it interesting to talk about. And I can agree, this place does have times where it seems like it's some sort of gigantic computer simulation. So perhaps a creator created this place and stuck us in this gigantic computer simulation of sorts. I don't know. I don't claim to know what this place is. I'm still trying to figure that out. That's kind of what this channel is all about. Skiza R34 says, "Do you think there were giants?" Possibly. It's tough to figure what could have existed. There could have been some big animals, not dinosaurs, but there could have been possibly big animals. You know, double, triple the size of ones we have now. So I figure there also could be men who are double, triple the size of what we have now. And there's some interesting landmarks out there that, you know, like for instance, Devil's Tower appears like it could be a tree stump. Uh, it definitely looks like a tree stump. But then the question becomes like, well, then what cut it down and how did what cut it down? And are there giants big enough that could cut down big, gigantic trees? Like, how big could these supposed giants actually be? I don't think there's super solid evidence to support mega huge gigantic giants, but there could have been possibly giants maybe 2-3 times taller than a man. Yes, some there are some rock formations that don't look like natural rock formations, that don't make any sense, that look like tree stumps. And then there's mountains out there that don't look like tree stumps. And so I don't like to claim like all mountains are tree stumps or anything like that, because I've been to like Utah, for instance, where there's a bunch of plateaus that go up and then it's like it cuts off. But some of them just go for miles and miles and miles and miles, and they aren't even like a tree stump shape. So sometimes there are rock formations that don't make sense, and it doesn't make sense as a tree stump either. Like there's some formations in like Utah and Arizona where the rocks will like go up to like a point and then have a big fucking rock thing on top. You know what I mean? Like almost uh like some of the like the arches and stuff, and some of these like towers, it'll like go up and make like a skinny tower, and then it'll get big and have this big top on it, and then it cuts off. So there's shapes that just don't make sense. There's a lot of things on this earth that don't make sense, be it rocks that look like people that weren't carved that way, that just naturally form that way, rocks that look like different animals that just naturally form that way. Um, so there's different parts in the world. Well, it'll look like somebody's face in the side of a mountain. It'll look like a big eyeball in the side of a cliff or something. And some of it looks like it had to have been carved by people, but they say that it's 100% natural. So there's different landmarks out there that definitely prove that this place is magical in one way or another. And there's definitely some stuff going on that they've kept hidden from us, to say the very least. Mike Green says if you ask why does it look like a tree stump, you would realize it don't even look like a tree stump. A piece of broccoli look like a whole darn tree, or can look like a whole darn tree, but then you realize those aren't leaves. Well, it all depends on each instance of what you're talking about. For instance, Devil Tower does look like a tree stump that's cut off. Here, let me pull it up real quick. And it's like out in the middle of nowhere, and there's nothing else out there that looks like it. All right, so Devil's Tower is in what, Wyoming. And it just goes up and then cuts off. So very strange, these rock formations. And of course, mainstream science will give you all sorts of hocus pocus and nonsense to explain this away, but definitely looks like it could have been some sort of gigantic tree. But then the question becomes, well, what in the hell could they use to cut something like that down? And then where do they take the top? Where do they take it? So the whole thing of like, oh, giants or whatever, well, where did the tree go? Where could you possibly take that tree? And then like what technology could you possibly use to cut it down? And so stuff like this just gives me like leaves me with more questions than answers. And I know for sure whatever mainstream science says, like just lava. Lava just happened to do that. That's definitely not true. So mainstream science will tell you, oh, you know, volcanoes, lava, erosion, whatever. It just kind of just did that. All right, so there's different places in the world where there's natural formations that are said to have happened just on their own, where it looks like faces and stuff are carved into the rock. See if I can find some good ones. Now, I guess some of these are carved, but I have found some that are said to be just naturally like in the rock. And so sometimes these are also out in remote locations where there's no reason for someone just to travel out in the middle of nowhere and carve the rock into a face. And so sometimes you even have to wonder, like, what would cause somebody to just go to one of these remote locations and carve something into a rock, you know? Like, who does that? So, anyway. I don't follow either guy. Owen Benjamin is a shill. He hangs out with other shills and does the shill thing. Uh, I don't really watch Jim Bob or pay attention to him. I do my own thing over here. Yeah, I tried to check out Owen several times, and I never got into anything he ever posted. And I saw him work with Jaron and Dave Weiss and do their flat Earth shill shit, their Mount Meru summit bull crap. And so he's just another shill like the rest of them. All right. Well, I guess I pretty much went over the subjects that I had lined up for tonight. I just wanted to do like a basic return to the globe deconstruction. And then maybe next stream we can get more into different flat Earth models and stuff and the problems with all those. Maybe I can show a few different Q and feet clips and show you guys some of the problems that your AE map's going to have or any of your other flat Earth maps. All right, well, I'll go ahead and get off here and let you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. So thanks for hanging out with me for a while tonight and going back and looking at some info where we basically started this channel. And David Yout says thanks for the show, and peeps here at Jake Nation. Love what you do, bro. Thanks, man. I appreciate the donation. I appreciate everyone who donated tonight, everyone who participated and hung out tonight. Hopefully you guys picked up something worthwhile, or if it was just a refresher, hopefully you enjoyed the information. All right, so I'll try to go live again within the next few days or so, and I'll see you guys next time. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good night. I'll catch you next time. Peace.